probably not one client that we have right now that I can mention the name of. But we're doing one right now for a consulting company where you're using the smaller package cogeneration units. So there's like 9 cogeneration packages where we're covering all of the waste heat. We're running it into a steam absorber, and that plant is set up so that there's some redundancy, just like you can lose a module on your UPS or your generator, right? It's set up on that type of redundancy on a smaller module basis.
So it's not just diesel gen sets.
No, they make little packaged units, and there's actually a couple manufacturers of them in the room right now we can introduce you to. They make, in the 250 kW range, little package units that take the waste heat and recapture it. And again, our feeling on cogen is not that data centers should be immediately tomorrow switching and doing cogen, but unless you consider the overall stream and the impact, if you go back to the first slide, that the data centers are having on the grid. We've been talking a lot with PSE&G, National Grid in the UK, and if you start to look at that pricing structure that's going to change as the grid capacity continually gets overtaxed, it probably would make a lot of sense for data centers to rethink what they're doing from a grid perspective and look at technologies like cogeneration. Maybe it's a jointly funded plant that the energy utility has access to. That's something that I know we're talking to several plants in Europe on.
Good question. Looking at the modular approach, if you had an existing building, would you still try to apply that modular approach with your rack space and still try to bring all the electrical and mechanical support systems outside of that conventional building?
Yeah. You don't necessarily have to bring it outside. The biggest thing that I would probably say about modular is it does a couple different things. One, it allows you to add industrialization to your construction process, which you're going to realize a huge savings. So even if you say, listen, we're doing this on this part of the data center, let's get it down, tweaked, right, and let's replicate it. That's modular construction. We're doing that on data centers right now. In fact, my chap from the UK right now is doing that just on racks. You go into that data center, you don't know that it's a modular data center, but they've built those construction components on modular. The same efficiency applies to design. And then if you go to the point where you say, listen, I don't want to spend $200 million in this data center because that's for my day 5 load. I don't want to put the infrastructure in. I'm just putting in the splines, be them outside in packaged units that are secure or inside. It allows you a plug and play. And then the ultimate end game in that is, let's say I'm a company with 10 data centers, right? And my changing demographics, my company's changing. I'm now doing a lot more work where I need, synchronous backup down in the Midwest region, New York. Why aren't I just taking my rack, right, open the garage door, throw my racks on my truck, little police escort down in the Southwest, right? Plug them in there, take my modules. Why aren't they convertible? When we look at, from a financial side, although we are not a developer of data centers, we have a large financial services component to our company to work with clients. We're looking at the data center, and it really doesn't make sense as a capital investment leasable asset because the residual value doesn't make sense for portability to another use, right? You build a 1,200 watt data center, you're going to use it for data center, typical warehouse that looks pretty much the same, costs $100, right? So you're just spending 12 times the amount of money to do a data center. But if you look at the modular construction approach to it, why can't you just build a warehouse with some modifications very, very inexpensively where you have the modular, go back, use that floor. That floor will allow you to actually put your UPSs on the floor, 1,200 pounds to 1,500 pounds per square foot. So instead of burying all that cable underneath the slab and putting all that infrastructure, I could lay my cable down on the floor, have 5-foot floor space instead of 3-foot, great mixing under there. And then when I'm done with the asset, or we've all figured out something, invented something new other than computers to do our processing, right? I can retask that asset and deploy it elsewhere. And from a leasing perspective, it gives you a great flexibility from that financial side.
Okay, Jacob. There's some hungry faces here. Jacob,
Yes?
Ron, and all of the Skanska team are just in the main room. So why don't you grab something to eat and ask some more questions out there. By the way, just as an ad, a lot of this content's on a white paper that's available over at the Skanska stand as well. And if they run out, give me a card and they'll send it over. you.
Excellent talk.